Hello and welcome back to Kellogg Sports HQ. Apologize for the brief delay in video content. It's been busy life for me recently, but if you've been checking out any of our other work, such as the Brick Squad pod with Trey and GC, you can tune into some more college basketball action. And that's what I'm going to be talking about briefly today, college basketball action. I want to go over some three mid-major teams that I really think can make a run in this year's March Madness. Now, conference tournaments are not over, so a couple of these teams could not make it, but two of them already have, and I just want to go over three, and maybe one that I don't like as much. So we'll start with a team that I've been high on all season, and if you've listened to the Brick Squad pod, I've talked about this team before, but McNeese State, they're a team that won last night, McNeese State beating Lamar to win their second straight Southland Conference Championship. They won by 9 points. They'd beat Lamar previously by about 7 points per game, and they just played fantastic defense. Their worst shooting performance of the year. It was a shocker, shooting 1 of 12 from 3. Lamar did not make a 3 the whole game. McNeese State still won by about 10 points, and I think that's really a testament to how this team can fare in March Madness, because when McNeese doesn't shoot threes, they can still win. They can still beat a pretty good team in Lamar. And now 18-1 in conference play was McNeese State. The reason that I've liked this team this whole year is they've played some really good Power 5 opponents really close. They lost to Alabama by less than 10. They lost by Mississippi State close. They've lost to some other good teams, and they've played them close, and this team has only gotten better throughout the season. They've got the Southland Defensive Player of the Year. I really, really like the way that Will Wade has coached this team and help this team find ways to win in games that are really tight. All right, secondly, we've got to talk about them. The Drake Bulldogs. Drake, everyone's going to be picking Drake. They're probably going to be in the 11-12 seed. McNeese State should be a 12. They're projected 12, so they'll probably play a low-end SEC team, maybe a Big Ten team. It's going to be a little tight to see. And a lot of this is matchup dependent as well. But Drake's probably going to be slotted at an 11, getting up to 30 wins. They're going to be the highest mid-major win total this season, even ahead of St. Mary's, who lost to Gonzaga. But, I mean, the reason that Drake is just an incredible story with a Division II coach coming up to head this team. They've got some great Power 5 wins throughout the season. They beat Miami by 11 points. They beat Florida Atlantic. They beat Vanderbilt by 11 points as well. Vanderbilt's a team that kind of on the cusp of tournament as well. They beat Kansas State in overtime. They beat Belmont. They have a couple of conference losses, but able to win their conference tournament pretty handily, beating Bradley. They're going to be in, and Drake is just a team that everyone wants to watch now. They're truly just, it's an incredible offense, the style that they run, the slowest pace in college basketball. Fans can only imagine what that's going to be like if Drake goes up against a team such as Alabama or an SEC team like Florida. If they win a few games, Drake is really going to be poised to make that Cinderella run, and I think a lot of people are going to be picking them. Now, it's going to be matchup dependent again. This team is so slow on offense, and they've got a few guys that are averaging a lot of points. Bennett Sturtz, of course, coming over with Ben McCollum for Drake. He's just been fantastic, averaging about 19 points, 4 rebounds, and 6 assists from that guard slot. They've also got Daniel Abreu and Tavion Banks, 2 guys also in double digits. But Sturtz is really the go-to guy, and so that's going to be my question for this team. Is he good enough to carry this team and to really have a March Madness and a Cinderella moment for the Drake Bulldogs to get them a few wins? Again, they're going to be around an 11 seed, so it's going to be a matchup-dependent thing again. Another team that I really like is going to be VCU out of the Atlantic 10. Now, VCU still is yet to win. As we said, right now they're about neck and neck with George Mason, but VCU is the third highest power-rated team in defense from the mid-major side behind, of course, Gonzaga and St. Mary's. So I really like this VCU team from the defensive side, as well as they're much more balanced offensive attack. They've got 4 guys in double figures, and they're going to have as well, they have had some Power 5 wins. So they're probably going to be slotted around an 11-12 as well. They beat Miami, looking down the line. They beat Miami, beat Boston College. They have a close loss to Seton Hall in overtime at the start of the season. as well as, they've got some other solid wins, beating Loyola Chicago and beating Dayton as well. The Dayton win is a big-time one, in my opinion. They beat Dayton, and then they lost to them at the end of the season. But VCU, the Shockers, it's a great team. They've had a few magical March Madness moments in the past. Can they do it again? It's going to be a question of, can this team get hot in the conference tournament? They're going to start play tomorrow, I believe, will be their first game against St. Bonaventure, I believe. And so VCU is another team that I really, really like out of the mid-major scene. Now, going down some of these other teams here, of course, these three are teams that I like, but some other teams might make it. I've never been a big Mountain West fan, and if you tune into the Brick Squad pod, of course, we always talk about how we think the Mountain West is a bit overrated and has struggled at times. But some other teams that are going to be slotted high is obviously New Mexico out of the Mountain West. They're going to be slotted pretty high. Liberty is probably going to be the other 12 seed. And UC San Diego is the highest mid-major. At UC San Diego, they're power rated in the mid-30s, and they won their conference. They're going to be 11, 12 seed, I would guess, as well. That's a team that everyone's going to be talking about. Everyone's going to be picking UC San Diego. And 28-4, 18-2 in conference. The big thing about UC San Diego is there's the three-point shooting. 40% as a team. Now, I like UC San Diego. I don't like them as much as some of the other teams, which might be interesting. And you're welcome to disagree in the comments below. And I'm sure that my friends of the podcast will disagree as well. But they have a non-conference win at Utah State. They've got a close loss to San Diego State. They've played some other tournament teams. They haven't played as many as some of these other teams. Now, I like McNeese as they've matched up well against some of these other high-power teams. And I like Drake and I like VCU for the same reasons. They've beat Power 5 teams. They've matched up well and lost to other quality Power 5 teams. So you kind of see their weaknesses and you see where they can work. So to me, a good loss is just as important as a good win. Learning where your team falls short, and especially some of these young coaches, it's really important to have losses and to have growing moments. Even looking down the line at the top of the order, you look at Duke, John Shire losing away at Clemson really has helped this team grow and realize what their shortcomings are, how they need to show up and play in away environments, and how they can score and really secure games down the stretch, because they've struggled throughout the season. Even the best teams have struggled. So I think losses are very important, which is another reason why I've liked some of these other teams. So my top three mid-majors, I'll put them in order. Drake is number 1. I like McNeese State, number 2. And I like VCU, number 3, the Shockers. Now, VCU still has to win. George Mason could theoretically beat them. They're neck and neck. They're both 15-3 in conference play. So we're yet to see on that side. But in general, I think it's going to be a fantastic March Madness. I cannot wait. And please tune in to the Brick Squad pod. We're going to have episodes coming out, I think, twice this week. We're going to have a Monday episode breaking down Selection Sunday, looking ahead at our favorite first round games. We'll probably break down the round of 32. All kinds of content coming out on Kellogg Sports HQ. There's going to be all kinds of content coming out on Kellogg Sports HQ, so please stay tuned in, and hopefully we'll have some more content coming up for you soon. As well as if people would like the podcast to be posted on here as well, can do that. Right now they're going to be up on Apple Podcasts and Spotify for anyone interested. So it's just going to be the Brick Squad pod to tune in to that podcast for college basketball. Now with this, you might think, oh, these teams are all poised to win a few games. Now what I'm saying is that these three teams I will be picking to win their first round matchups as the underdog. And one of them could be poised to make a Cinderella run. And the thing about March Madness is you fall in love with one or two teams that make a run. There's not all of these double-digit seeds making one. It's always just a few. Last year, it was North Carolina State with DJ Burns and DJ Horn as the 9 seed making it. The season before, North Carolina as an 8 seed, making a great run with experienced veterans and transfers. But in general, the beauty of March Madness is that there's always one or two teams that's gonna turn some heads that people never knew about. And this year, I think there's a few teams people might know even more about some of the underdogs. So who's to say that all these teams are going to win? But it is going to be very matchup dependent, and I'll break that down more as time goes along here. But the matchups are everything in these first round games, and so keep an eye out for these teams, and don't be surprised if they find themselves in the Sweet 16 and beyond.